In fact, we're going to talk about goods at the beginning. Goods, by the way, you can use goods as singular or plural. You can say a good, or you can say many goods. So you can say good or goods. Now, these are all goods, right? Goods are really objects. Goods are things that people buy or use. So remember, goods are objects. They're physical things that you can hold. You can put them in your bag, right? You can carry them in your pocket if they're small enough, right? But don't carry scissors in your pocket, of course. But you can put other things in your pocket. So paper, paintbrushes, paint, scissors, pencils, these are all goods. They are all objects. They are all things that we buy or use that we want or need. So those would be goods, physical objects. That's different from a service. And again, service can be singular or plural. We can also say services, right? There are many services. So when we talk about the economy, or we talk about the idea of things that we need or want, we can break them down into goods or services. A service is work. It's not a thing. You cannot hold a service. You can't put a service in your backpack. You can't put a service in your pocket. Service is work that people do for others. So it's work that other people do for you. And of course, you give them something in return, maybe money, or you do something for them, but those would be services. What service is going on here? It's hair cutting, like a person who cuts your hair. They're not giving you a good. It's not a good. It's a service. It's work. So basically, two main things we're talking about in this unit. Goods, which are objects, and services, which is work. Okay, so those are the two main things, two very important concepts in this unit. Okay, when we talk about goods and services, like I said, if somebody works for you, you give them something. What do you give them? You give them whatever the price for their service is, or the price for the good. If you go into a store, there's a lot of goods. You have to look at the prices to understand how much it costs. Price, the amount of money that you have to give to buy something. So if you want to know the price, you can ask, how much does it cost? How much does it cost? And that is the amount of money. The amount of money is the cost. How much does it cost? Ulmayo, right? Ulmayo. How much does it cost? That is the price. What is the price is another way, but it's more common to say, how much does it cost? And you're talking about the price. So you can see the price on the goods in the store. And that is the amount of money that you have to give the store to buy something. If you want these apples, you have to give them the amount of money that's on the price here. By the way, you see in the store there are many price tags. That's another important expression to remember. A price tag. That is a tag, especially on clothes. When you buy clothes, there's a price tag. It says, how much is the shirt? How much are those jeans? That you look at the price tag. It tells you the amount of money. Okay. Now, when we're talking about goods and services, of course, you want to exchange those. One person wants them. Another person wants to give them away. But you don't give them away. You don't take them. You sell them or you buy them. In this case, we're talking about sell. Sell means to give something for money. Be careful. If you just say to give, I will give it to you, that's for free. That's no money. To give means for free. For example, if I say, oh, do you want this key? I will give you this key. That means there's no money. But if I sell you the key, that means I want you to give me money for it, right? I'm not just going to give you the key. I want something in exchange for that key. In exchange. I want something in exchange. That means I'm like giving you something, you're giving me something. Usually the seller will give the object, the buyer will give money, right? You give money. And that, of course, is what we're talking about here. Sell is like in Korean, you say palda, right? Palda. Is my Korean okay? Is that okay? Palda. That's to sell. You give something, the other person gives you money. That's sell. What's the opposite of sell? 반대로. How do you say that? That, of course, is to buy. You buy something. In that case, you want something, so now you give the money, and the other person gives you the object, okay? So that means to get something by giving money for it, okay? So, of course, buy is 사다, right? 사다, to buy. So you're going to buy something. Now, it's interesting, of course, we just talked about sell, we talked about buy. We can talk about the people involved in both. We have a seller and we have a buyer. So, if you are giving an object and you're taking money in return, you are the seller. But in this case, if you are giving money and getting an object in return, you are the buyer. Usually we are the buyers, right? There are many more buyers than there are sellers, right? A grocery store is one seller, but many buyers go to that store. Okay, so we can say seller and buyer along with sell and to buy. Are those the only two ways that we can get goods and services? Either by selling or by buying? Those are the only two things? There's one more thing we can do, and that is to trade. This is an interesting idea. Before we talked about sell and buy, we're talking about money, right? But in trade, there's no money. To trade means to give someone one thing and get another thing from them. In this case, they're exchanging or they're trading balls. He wants the blue ball, he wants the red ball, so they switch. Imagine you're eating lunch with your friend at school. You have a ham sandwich. Your friend has a cheese sandwich. You say, I will trade you some of my ham for some of your cheese. So you give your friend half of your ham, not all of your ham, but half of your ham, and your friend gives you half of his cheese. Now you both have a ham and cheese sandwich, right? Because you traded objects. When you trade objects, no money involved, then you are trading. You are exchanging objects. So there's sell, buy, and trade. Those are the three things we do with goods and services. Okay. Now, to pay is very similar when we're talking about to buy or sell. When you say you're going to pay, that means you give money for something. So who gives money? Who pays? Of course, a buyer pays money to the seller. So the buyer will give money. They are paying for the good or service. To pay for something. To pay for something. So this is very commonly used in this way. I will pay for it. I will pay for lunch. Especially if you want to treat your friend to lunch, right? I will pay for lunch. I will pay for this shirt. So you pay for something means you give money in exchange for something else. Okay? Now, to grow, we're talking a little bit different here. Grow, it means just to raise plants or animals. Do you have a pet at home? Maybe you have a pet dog, maybe a cat, perhaps a hamster. If you have one, you are growing that pet, or that pet is growing. Of course, you're raising the animal. Of course, you usually say raise animals, and you say grow plants. This boy here is growing some plants at his house. Farmers grow plants for food, and of course then they sell those plants of course at the market. Now, compare is very important when we're talking about buying and selling, because when you go to the store, you have many different kinds of apples or many different kinds of whatever product. You want to compare those different types of things. Compare means to see how things are different or similar. When we talk about compare, you're looking at the differences and the similarities, right? That is part of comparing something, right? You're seeing how they are different or how they are similar. In this case, this woman is looking at an orange or an apple, and she's got to compare. She's got to think, well, which one do I want? Which one maybe is healthier for me? Which one tastes better? Which one do my children like more? Okay? If you go to the store, you see many different kinds of apples. You can compare the size, the color. You can also compare, very important, you compare the price, right? So you compare prices and you see, oh, these apples are less expensive than those apples. You're comparing, and maybe you want to buy the apples that don't cost so much, okay, that you don't need as much money for. So that's very important. Many people do that when you go to the store, and you should always do that. Compare prices, right? Compare prices to find out which one you can buy, and you can buy easily. Compare prices is very common.
Lesson 11. Goods and Services. Goods. Things that people buy or use. Service. Work that people do for others. Price. The amount of money that you have to give to buy something. Sell. To give something for money. Buy. To get something by giving money for it. Trade. To give someone one thing and get another thing from them. Pay. To give money for something. Grow. To raise plants or animals. Compare. To see how things are different or similar.